I'm SyedaZaidi, and today I'm going to be talking about dot products. Now, this topic, so from last week's topic, that topic was about vectors of dot product, but this one is just like dot products, that's it. So it's pretty easy. Mostly it's like multiplication, subtraction, addition, and all those four main properties. So basically, this is like the kind of the review that we did before, but this one is like a more like a review, so you know what you're actually doing in this one, because like the last one it was kind of like off topic for that one, but this review will actually help you for this topic actually. So basically, the properties of dot products. So number one, this is mostly like a similar one for every, like it's like the most common one at all. It's like u times v equals v times u, just like the opposite of multiplication but the same thing. So number two is 0 times v equals 0. Well, you know, obviously because it's like multiplication, and if there's a 0, example, if it was 0 times 2, that'd be 0, right? So just same thing with the alphabet, v. Number three is u times v plus w equals u times v plus u times w. Now this is actually a most common too. Actually, all of these are actually common because you will be needing these kind of formulas when you're doing these equations. So it just talks about like, so this one is just like mostly like putting them apart but together. Like uv and then wv, it's like, you know, just like together, you know, u times v, and then the distribution basically. So number four is v times v equals v squared. Now you can kind of see that v times v will be equal to v squared because v squared equals v squared equals v times v. So number five is I think that's C, yeah. So C times U times V equals CU times V equals U times CV. Now it's the same thing as number three, the distribution, but this one is actually adding with C now, so it's not like, you know, it's not like with the, with the W anymore. So this one is actually C. So basically this is like CU times V equals U plus U times V. This one has separate numbers, but this one is actually together with 1. So this is the main review you will need to know. If you just review them together, all of them together, and if you actually, you can use them, you can use this review while doing the equations. It will actually help you a lot and understand how the steps work. And this is what we need to do in order to find the answer. So now let's get on with the questions. Alright, so this is the first problem we're doing, and this one says find u times v. Now in the review we talked about how there are like specific formulas that we have to use in order to find the answer for the dot products. Now I think, oh, sorry about that. Now this problem is actually in one of the reviews if you look at it, but for now we're gonna skip the review, and we're gonna talk about how to do this step by step. Now some people do it without doing the full steps, and that's honestly okay, but in this situation I'm gonna show you guys how to do it step by step, just in case. So I put the line underneath so you guys can see what's the difference between u and v. This is also v, by the way. So this one says v equals 5, u equals 5 and 2, and v equals -3 and 4. So in this situation, we're gonna be doing we're gonna do u times v, and now we're gonna start multiplying together. So let's just put like the vectors in between together. So times by -3 and 4. Now when we do them together, we have to multiply. We have to actually multiply to them together because there's a multiplication sign in the middle between these two vectors. So we're gonna do 5 and -3 plus. Now we add them together because when you're trying to add when it's multiplication, you always have to add them together to find the answer. So we're also distributing too. So like example 5, 4, and then 5 and -3, just so you guys make sure where I'm going at. So then 2 and 4, because we see 2. Oh, sorry about that. That's not 2. Oopsies. So you see how it's 2 and 4 here, and then 5 and 3. 5 and -3. So now we're gonna have to simplify. So -15 plus 8. Now -15 plus 8 equals to -7. So basically this is your answer. u times v equals -7. So basically this would be your answer for this problem. And let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this is the second problem, and this problem is actually more complex than the last one, but still multiplication in the same kind of steps. But since there are actually alphabets, now I and J are actually the most common alphabets you will find while doing the vectors topic, and these problems might be kind of confusing since there's like alphabets between, but if there was no alphabets, you'll be easily to find the answer. But since there are alphabets, we're actually gonna make them more easier since the structure is like this, like, you know, I and J. It's kind of confusing because I and J, like, what is that, right? So we're gonna make them more easier for you guys, so you guys know what I and J actually means while doing the problem. So example, we're gonna think I is 1. Actually, most of the time I is actually 1 in some problems, and if not, then they will have like a substitution saying, oh I equals 2, so substitute that in the equation. So for now, in this kind of question, I will be equal to 1 most likely, and J will also equal to 1 too. So we're gonna make that 1 to -3. Okay, and then we're gonna make this -3 to 1. So you see how it's more easier now, like the structure, you can kind of see how it's like more clear and fresh, and you can kind of see like how it's like more easier to solve, and you can just read this easily, you know. So now we're gonna start solving. So this is actually this part is actually the easiest part that you would know. It's like the same thing as last time we did with the numbers. So we're gonna make them together. So we're gonna do u times v. So 1 and -3, and the sign, multiplication sign, -3 and 1. So now you can just like, you know, go through your way and just try. So 1 and -3 is right here. We have to actually distribute this part. So -3 and 1. So 1 and -3 plus, always remember to add. Don't multiply again. Always add to plus, because the only thing we're multiplying is these vectors. That's all. We're only distributing them, but when you're done distributing, you have to add them after. So now it's -3 and then 1. So since we got everything done, we're gonna start simplifying. So -3 times 1 is -3, obviously, and then -3 again. So -3 plus -3 equals to -6. Now this is basically the last step of what you need to do in this problem. So u times v equals -6 in this problem. Okay, so this is number 3, and this one is different since there's actually a different way we're gonna be multiplying. So it's mostly the same steps as last time, but the thing is that since there is actually a 3 instead of u, just instead of u times v, there's actually 3 u times v. We're gonna be adding one more step into this problem. So basically, the first step is to identify what kind. Actually, we're gonna identify this later after we find the answer. So first, we're just gonna be multiplying first. We're actually distributing, but we're gonna be seeing how that goes. So first step is to u times v. We went to this multiple times. But yeah, so 2 and 4, and times by -6 and 5. So 2 times -6 is what? Plus, let me just do this real quick. -12 plus 20, which equals to 8. Okay, so -12 plus 20 equals to 8, right? So now we have to add another step. So since we have 3u times v, we're gonna be multiplying 3 times 8, since 8 equals to v in this problem. So 3 times 8 equals to 24. Now we found the answer, which is 24. Now there's actually a thing called scalars and vectors. Now scalar means something that has a sum, but only one sum, and vector is like this, 6 and 5. They have points, right? Vectors have points, but the thing is, scalar is just one number. Example, if it was like 75, 60, 1, 2, those are scalar numbers. basically, so the result of this answer will be a scalar since there's only one sum, there's only one number. But if it was a point, if it was -6 and 5, then the result will be as a vector. So this is a scalar. Just to remind you guys, this is a scalar. Okay, so please remember this. And this is the problem. This is the answer for this problem. Okay, so this is number 4, and this one involves 3 vectors now, since there's u, v, and w, and we're going to basically be substituting in this formula. So this formula, I think I showed you in the review too, and you should review that before you do this, so you know what kind of steps you're going to be expecting while you're doing this problem. So let's start. Okay, so first we're going to be talking about u and v, since u and v is in the middle. You see how they're both combined together, and then the outside, the odd one, is w. So how are we gonna do this? So let's see. So let me just okay. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna be just making an equal sign right there. Okay. So how we're gonna do this? We're gonna do okay. So let's make them together in both sides. So let's do example. Since v is first, we're going to be doing -4, 2 times by, let me just make it a little smaller, 3 and 3, right, and then we're going to be doing parentheses on both sides, and then we're going to be involving 7 and -5 in both sides. So basically, the w is always out. You see how w is out in this part? So w would be out also in this part too as vectors. So now we're going to have to simplify. So let's just bring it here now. There's more room. So -4 and 3, and then 2 and 3. So -4 times by 3 plus, now remember, when it's multiplication sign, it's always adding afterwards, okay? So 2 and 3. And then we're just gonna use brackets right here, and then we're gonna do the multiplication of 7 and -5, the odd one. Remember, this is w, okay? U times v times u equals w, okay? Now we're gonna start with this. So -4 times 3 equals 12, plus 2 times 3, which equals to 6, okay? Oh, -12, sorry. -4 times 3, right? Okay. Now we're gonna be, so now it's 7 and -5 both sides. All right, you see that right there? Okay. Now -12 plus 6 equals to I think -6, right? -6, and now we're gonna be multiplying 7 and -5. Now this part is kind of tricky, but basically you're just substituting. Not substituting, sorry. You're distributing again, just like you did with the vector, but this time it's only with one number. So it's gonna be -6 times 7, and then -6 times -5. Okay. Now when you do distribute them together, you will find an answer of. You will find the vectors actually of -6 times 7 is what? -42 over -6 times -5, which would be +30. Now, this is the answer for v times u times by w. And remember how in the last clip, or the previous question, we talked about how there's a difference between scalar and vectors. Now, what do you think this will be? Now, I reminded you guys that there will be, if there's like two points, if there's 1 point like this, like for -42 and 30, this will equal to vectors, because vectors are always involved with points. They always involved with 2 numbers in between parentheses. Now, if it was a scalar, it would be just one sum, just to, like, example 23, 60, 70. This one would be like -42 and 30, or -2 and 1, 1 and 3, 47 and 68. So just remember that vectors and scalars are both different. Now this answer result will be as a vector.